I will start with some of the panel members before I come to our main speakers. You all heard about the recent bill, SB403, which was passed through the Senate, passed through the Assembly, but eventually, or I will say unfortunately, our governor, under the influence of some big donors, decided to veto the bill. But I don't think we need to be discouraged. I think a lot of good things came out of that, a lot of dialogue, this discussion. Even this seminar is byproduct of that. So we have one of the lady who led that struggle, who basically spent her years to start that legislation. And I really want to thank her for being here. And her name is Mori Sundarajan, and she's among us today. Where is Simon? And we have other panelists who were also involved in this struggle. We have our Kurdi, Amarshir Gill, and we have Dr. Nirmal Singh, and we have Rajni Singh, and we expecting Nandi. He's on his way. I think he said he ate some very delicious langar last night, so he has some GI issues. So he will be here a little later on. So I don't want to take too much time. So let's start with our first guest speaker. I have known her for many years. She's when she talks, she looks like she's singing poetry. She's so eloquent, and she has a beautiful voice. But she has a great knowledge. She's well published. She has written 3 books. Those books are available here. And she came from Bay Area, especially, and you all know Jasbir Kaur from Bay Area. She's actually very well traveled. She gets invited to many different places to speak on different topics. She's very well read, and she can compare different ideas, different philosophies. So her topic today is Sikhi and equality. What does Sikhi say about equality? So please welcome Jasbir Kaur ji. ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੇ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸਪੀਕਰ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਤੇ ਬਰਾਬਰਤਾ। ਜਸਬੀਰ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜਸਬੀਰ ਜੀ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। I'm so deeply touched by the warm welcome that I'm getting from everyone, especially Dr. Kang for inviting me yet again. I know what is the 3rd time that I'm here, thanks to you, to meet this wonderful community. So, again, just so grateful to the Punjabi Heritage Society. And yes, we want to support these efforts, and we shall. And I want to tell you about something pretty unique. At least for me, it was quite an eye-opener that happened several years ago. I always chaperoned students when my little boy, who was 6 or 7 at the time, went on a field trip. I did it until he was 14, after which time he did not want me there. He did not to be seen with me. But at any rate, this was, I think, 1st grade. And I was there with a few other moms. And there was this one African-American kid, very cute, very, I want to say ambitious, full of energy, very spirited. And he would not stand still. He was jumping around, and before I knew it, I could tell that he's going to trip. And he was not afraid of anything. And he fell down and he scraped his knee, and blood started oozing out. And I was like, oh my God, Jonathan. And before I could even reach him, there was this little girl, your typical sweet Caucasian girl, blonde hair, blue-eyed. She goes, oh my God, Jonathan, what's the same? Look at your blood, it's red. Oh my God, Jonathan, it's the same as mine. She was completely taken aback. I have no clue what she thought, what the color of his blood would be. But she was like, wow. She just kept going, wow, we're the same. So I brought her aesthetics. We are the same, Cindy. We are the same. So And Dr. Khan just said, equality is key. And really, there is no equality. We're not equal. Jonathan, for example, came from Jamaica, and he was a recent immigrant. And Cindy was the daughter of a Silicon Graphics executive. I knew the family because I met them often. She was light-skinned, he was dark, she was tall, he was a little stout. She came from a privileged family, and Jonathan's family was not that well off. So there were all these inequalities. But underneath the differences, Cindy was a smart little, sweet little, innocent little girl who realized we are the same. We are the same. So this is where, for me, Guru Nanak's equality comes in. The basis of Guru Nanak's equality is that we are the same. Why? And that's what I'm going to talk about. And then today. Mitra Satya Sab Ek Saman. Jog Jugat Nisa. Friends and foes are all alike. Jog Jugat Ninan. Those who have the wisdom. Jog Jugat Ninan. This is the insignia of those who understand the realities, who have the wisdom that we are all alike. Ek Saman in the order. Say, what is equality? I mean, we know what is equality. I'm going to race through this one. Equality in rights. There is no equality if we don't have the same rights. If we are treated differently because of our gender, race, whatever, we're not equal. If we don't have a voice, if we don't have an equal seat at the table, we're not equal. If our status is different, we treat each other differently. There is no equality. If there's no equality in opportunities, there is no equality. And one of the biggest differentiators is education and lack of it. Those that are not educated will never feel equal, will never be treated equal. And we do that in our daily lives. We judge people. We check them out. We see how they are, how they speak, how they dress, how they conduct themselves. And based on that, we treat them. We all have a bias. Gender equality, we all know. Even today, women are not making the same money as men. That I have spent my entire career in the U.S. in Asia as a talent acquisition person, and I know there is my art. Racial equality, of course, political equality. I mean, how many years? Less than 100 years? That women even have a vote. And how much representation they have? Hardly any. Look at those technology boards. Look at the political arena. Look at anywhere. How many women are represented? Equal justice. Wow. There isn't equal justice. People can buy lawyers. People can buy judges. Can vote. There is really no equal justice. So no discrimination on any basis. There are many other layers, but I just presented a field that you peel these layers, and what you see is not only inequality, but growth in inequality. So here comes Guru Nanak Sahib in a world that was so unequal, and he proclaimed Ek Onkar. Ek Onkar. I'm going to read about Ek from my book, Almost a Beloved, that is over there, and she's taking care of, the books, and so you got a chance to browse through it. So I'm going to state in a few words I'm going to read here what Ek represents. Ek represents the one creator. Of all the sacred spiritual concepts, Ek is the most important to understand. Ek is the cornerstone on which the message of Sri Guru Granth Sahib is based. Sometimes I think that Sri Guru Granth Sahib can be summed up in one, and the rest is all detail and explanation. Just more about it. It's all about it. Because it is our core. It is where we start. It is where we merge back. It is it. It is the cause behind all causes without beginning or end. Although transcendental and invisible, it is manifested in all creation and is an intrinsic part of it. It is also the unifying presence within creation. It is changeless, a force that remains constant in a dynamic universe. Now, it is not a number here, because numbers can be divided and fractioned and all sorts of things, right? So it is indivisible. That is it. And Gurdwara says that we are in. He describes that further in Omkar. And Omkar and Ing are the same. Omkar describes what it is. I've just been read a few lines. Omkar and it are the same entity. Omkar is the manifestation of it in its infinite expanse. By one glowing command, it set in motion a dynamic evolutionary process of creation, a universe that is a vivid expression of the invisible, the form of the formless one. That is Omkar. Omkar is the universe in its myriad forms, beautiful, vibrant, ever-changing. It is the day and night, the sunrise and the sunset, the animate and the inanimate. It is the translucence in light, it is the sound of thunder. It is the beautiful pulsating planet. It is our woman, it is you, it is me, it is all of us. We are all Omkar, the one manifestation of that day. It is the body in which our soul resides. It is a part of the soul. It is every particle of atom and subatom. Omkar encompasses the all-inspiring galaxies. And if Omkar is that entity that is in us, it is the light. It is the light that we carry. It is there in everything, every being, every plate of brass. And it is that which makes us the same. It is the same blood that runs through our veins. It is Sabha describes it as Ikopan Ikona, a body that is so similar. Why? Because that's how it created us as part of the Omkar family, as part of the Omkar expansion, as part of the Omkar infinity. That is it. And that is the basis of Sikh equality. That we are all part of that. We are all pulsating, alive, beautiful rhythm, this lyricism that is there in all of us. That is what makes us sing. Echo by Martin Sub-Inca, the air, the planet Earth, the mitti, the dust from which we rise, to which we fall back. Sub-Inca Jot Sabaya, that light within us is what makes us a Sabba Ikpo Jot Varte. Everywhere, it's the same light. It's the same, it's what Cindy recognized, we're the same. Sub-Inca Jot Varte, in different ways. We all look different, we all act different. We all privileged or not privileged differently. We all have different ways we express ourselves. There's so many differences, so many inequalities. But we are the same because of the light of the Omkar, of it that we carry within us. Good for Sardi, it natari bhai. Hastat Gurvitto, Bataya Chilil. And how do I understand this? How do I understand that we are one? With Prasad. Through the grace of the divine. It is only through the grace of the divine which dissolves our egos, that we recognize the oneness, that we recognize the sameness, that we recognize and see the light in each other, the same divine light which I'm the part of, that you are a part of. It's only when there is good prasad of the thing. So, Omkar. I love this quotation. Omkar Brahma, but Omkar Kiya Jinjit. Omkar created the consciousness. Omkar created Brahma, which according to the Eastern tradition is the creator. Who created it? The creator. And Kar stand Jogabai, the ages. Throughout the ages, it is the same one. It is the same Omkar. It's the same manifestation. that generates and regenerates and is born and it dies and, continues, the seed becomes the tree and then sheds the schemes and becomes the seed again and grows another tree. God, and the cells within our body that die, that flow, it's a flow. And that flow continues all the time, right? And when that flow stops, anywhere and in anything, there's a problem, there's disease. Ask the wonderful doctors sitting here, flow, we have to remain in that flow. And part of that flow is recognizing that it's the same flow in us, in the universe, and the rhythm. And when I first saw the pictures of our beautiful planet and the astronauts took from the moon, I saw this beautiful pulsating planet, those breathing. There's flow in it, that is rhythm in it, there's life in it. So that is the basis of equality. That is the same resonance. That is the one thing that unites us. And just have to realize it by the grace of it. The divine here is not a theorization, not a beautiful image on the Sistine Chapel of a finger which you now know. It's the formless one. It is the cosmic universe. It is the light. And this light came through us when the social conditions were horrible, pathetic, pitiful. And what was it? It was the caste system that divided us then, and it's the caste system that divides us now. At that time, if you read McConnell's Sikh history in several volumes, I think in 6 volumes, it'll make you shudder to think of the inequality that prevailed. It actually made me shudder to realize the state of women. Any which way you could get rid of them, you do, proud to. She becomes a widow, she burns herself. She's a little child, marry her off. One less mouth to feed. Something bad happens to her, get rid of her. She's a property, she's given away. And then you have to give money to the person who makes her. It was horrible. The shooters and women were the same category. I had a friend in my college. We invited him and his mom over for dinner. And she was a Brahmin. She had dinner with us. And then she says, "Are bhai, Sikh ke ghar aaya, Sundar ke ghar aaya, ek hi baat hai." Like, what? Because we don't believe in the caste system. She thought we were as low as that. And then she saw that the person who came to work at our place was eating from the same vessels as we do, and she was beyond shocked. Toba, 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 she said. And she had her son take her away at that point. I don't know what she did to get rid of the food that she had partaken, but this is caste system that I witnessed personally. So there were no rights. There was no import. And in this world came Guru Nanak and gave the message of Ik Omkar. We are all equal. Manas ki jaat, sabe ke pehchan. Our unlearning fire. And this folks, we are one. We are made of the same meat. It was pretty shocking. But what was even more shocking, when he said that women are equal to men. I remember that lady's line, Toba, Toba, women are equal to men. Oh my God, they're impure. And he said, impure are those that think impure. That was Guru Nanak's message. And this was the casteism. And then there was the Mughal dynasty that ruled India. And they imposed jizya or tax for being of a certain religion. If you were not Islamic, you had to pay a tax. And again, you had no rights. And again, you were forced to accept a religion that was not yours. At the point of a sword, there was a price on the head of the Sikhs: convert or be killed. So this is the world in which Guru Nanak Sahib came and the other Gurus came. And they talked about equality. And they brought equality. And they ended the Mughal dynasty. And that is our heritage. And I think it's so beautiful to look into it and see how they broke the barriers. And these are lines from gurbani. that just touched my heart so deeply. एक दी सामग्री, सारा कुछ जो हमारा सामग्री is all this paraphernalia, all these components that you see, the matter, the non-matter, all this samagri, it all belongs to the one. It is all one. It is created by the one. It is the aim. It is the command, the order is also one of it. I quoted about Allah already. And then Guru Nanak Sahib said that the wisdom, the divine wisdom that I'm channeling and that I'm sharing with you is also for all sects, because Brahmins were entitled to spiritual texts and knowledge and liberation at the end of their life. And Shudras and women were not. Women were not allowed to enter the temple. Neither were Shudras, neither was some other caste. So Guru Nanak Sahib said, Khatri, Brahman, Sud, Vyas, Updesh, Chavarna, Sancha. All that I'm teaching, this amazing wisdom that I'm channeling, that is given to me, that comes to me from a divine source, is for all of you. No one is denied of it. No one has more privilege of it. No one is going to use it and get better and evolve, and no one is going to be denied this. And then he said something else that was pretty shocking. Fakkar jifti fakkar noy. Caste system is watame. Fakkar, useless, fazul, of no meaning. Jati, whatever your jat is, you may be, high up, and, the last name sometimes reveals what is your status. Fakkar janti is completely useless. Fakkar now, doesn't matter what your name is. You might attach all kinds of adjectives before it, right? The holy men these days, it's not one Sri is not enough. Sri, Sri, right? And somebody else, Sri, Sri, Sri. Keep adding adjectives. Your names, they mean nothing. Your jat means nothing. Sabna jiya ekka cha. Everyone gets the shade from the same tree that envelops it. Just know this. The rest is all nonsense. Janu Jot, understand the light. Know what the light is, what the nature of the light is. Understand it. Janu Jot, now pucho jati. Don't ask what your caste is. Adi jat nahi. When you leave this body and you go back to your home, no one is going to ask you what your jat is. You're going to be recognized on the way you lived your life or condemned. So these are few quotations from Sri Guru Granth Sahib with Mulan, the Gurus or the puppets that understood. So let's delve a little bit further into Guru Nanak Sahib's message. We will talk about the three golden rules. Now, the three golden rules are based on equality and equity. There is no equality without equity. Think about it. Tarun Dikit, righteous living. If you steal from someone, if your occupation and livelihood is not truthful, then you are stealing from someone. And Guru Sahib says, Bin sache vapar, janam vidya. Your life is useless. If your commerce, if the way you treat people, if the way you follow what works, if your exchange is not true. What I find beautiful about gurbani these days, that it's good for your interaction with people and it is good for your soul. The evolution of the consciousness has to happen in this world when we live. It's not going to happen when we die. It's going to happen now in this lifetime. And Gurbani addresses both how we live in this lifetime impacts how our soul will be, how pure or impure. That is all the definition of purity. The elevation to the purest consciousness, to become that light. Mantu Jot Se, that is our goal. Apna mod bachao, recognize who you are. And so do not indulge in practices that are false, that are not fair to every Dharam. Beautiful. Not just equality, but equity. This is how we live in the world. And then, if we are one, we take care of our family because we think we are one unit. We're a nucleus unit. We are one. We take care of them. We feed them. We share with them. We look after their welfare. And Buddha says, this is one human race that is your family. So, run the kitchen. Share what you have. Take care of the others that have less, that are underprivileged. And so this is also part of equality. Why would I take care of you if I think you're not part of my family? If I think that I am for me and you are for you. When there is a divide, there is no taking care of. There is no one chakna. And then where do these two come from? All this happens only when we are attuned with the divine. Only when we are connected to that higher consciousness. When our consciousness is at a lower level, so generic. We'll take the shortest route. We'll do anything and everything that helps us because there's a big divide of the all between you and me. And that dissolves only through Nam, only through ways, only through connection with the purest consciousness that draws up one. They say you put a chandan tree next to a regular plant, and the plant starts smelling of chandan, of sandalwood, right? But if there is a bamboo there, very straight, very erect, full of ego, rising tall, the bamboo will not take on the smell of the sand. Did you know that? The bamboo does not take the smell of the sand because the bamboo doesn't know how to bend. The bamboo is so straight and so high and it's so strong, but on the other plants. So the very principles that we tout, that we teach, that we say, these are the golden rules of Sikhi, are based on equality. And look at some of our institutions. I see them as gateways to equality. Gurdwara. Now, till today, I've been invited to speak at mosques, but I cannot pray at a mosque. I cannot. If I want to go and sit down and see what is inside the mosque, I've been to several. There's only one. There's another room where women are pleased, and maybe that's because they don't want to bring men and women together, but they are not allowed to pray in the same. I'm so maybe share one, I'll speak to the tailor. And I love these words, inshallah, with our half-friends. This musing to them, the sweet words. Urdu is a beautiful language. And I just said, this lady was talking to me, and she said, you know what, love to see you another time. And I said, inshallah. Her name's God, really. She was so shocked. She says, as a non-Islamic person, you are not supposed to say Allah. This is in Malaysia. This is just less than 10 years ago that I was there and about this. So in the Gurdwara, anyone can come, anyone can bow down, anyone can pray, anyone can partake of the Nazar. It's almost a secular place, because everybody's welcome, everybody's treated the same. Look at her mandir, look at the architecture of her mandir, the four doors, right? Facing 8 directions. It was constructed like that. There was a reason to everything that the Gurus did. There was a method. There was a goal. There was a teaching. And the teaching all led to equality. The Sarovar, right? The Langar. And let's talk about the Langar, right? And I think it was the third Guru's time that Akbar was asked to sit down and have Langar with the Pandas. And the Pandas, where you sit down shoulder to shoulder with everyone. McConaughey says in his history of, the Sikh history, that the punishment of a Shudra for drinking from the same well as a high caste person was capital punishment, to be stoned to death. This was the punishment for a Shudra from drinking from the same well. And here you sit down and eat food cooked by no matter who, partaken by both now and low, and served with humility and love and grace. That's Bhangra. Same with Sangat. We are part of the Sangat, you're one. And then the ultimate one wins, the Amrit. People from the lowest caste drinking from the same bowl. Wow. Talk about impurity and talk about Jutta and Sacharinonra. Drinking from the same there. Really truly saying, all right, everything is over now. It's done. You are done with divides. You are done with your egos. You are done with the superiority. And that, what is Amrit? It's nectar and Amrit, that which doesn't lie. And when you partake of this wisdom, your consciousness becomes so elevated and merges back with the divine, and then there is no death. There is no death, there is no rebirth, there is no coming back. But you have to not just have that sip from the bowl, but live it. Live Amrit to become Amrit. You know, these days they're saying, oh, you can live up to 120 years. Okay, then what? You still die. But when your consciousness becomes pure and you're elevated, then not even moment. And it doesn't matter. You are one. And there's no awakening coming and there's no death. That's one. Another beautiful concept, right? Organizations run on this one. And we are here today because people share that this one. And that also recognizes that I'm not insular. I don't live just for myself. I am going to give my this one. Now give your this one in money, in time, any which way. It's the same for Seva. Seva is one thing that Sikhs have really learned to do. And our community has made us proud during the pandemic and at other, moments of crisis, natural disaster. They are there in the forefront. They are serving, they're taking care of people who are wounded. And then there is justice. Justice, another deep way to want it. We've all, we're nearing the Diwali season. And though I think, pardon me, I think this, when they showed to us to match with Diwali is a concocted story. But it did happen. It didn't happen during the time on Diwali, but it did happen when Guru Har Krishan Sahib was wrongly chained, and when his release was granted by Chandi, he wanted everybody else to have the same justice that he was getting because of his power. So justice for all. This is what our Gurus have taught us. This is what we are about. And it's okay to storing some of them. Such as that, feeding the hunger because you're one with them. But just our story, right? About water. Forget about whether that hand is real or it's a mark or not a mark. The fact is, water is a resource for everyone. And no one has any right to control it. And the spirit was controlling it. We should get the water and we should not. So the availability of resources, these are very meaningful stuff. To eat at Bhailano's house, and not go to the other rich guy. How many of us will turn down an invitation from someone who has a very high status in society, who's very well off, who's holding a big old banquet, right? Versus someone who has no power or no influence in society? Which invitation will he accept? Think about it. Where would he go? Guru Nanak turned down the invitation of this person who was not very high in society, and he went into this purpose. So it's about, again, recognizing the soul is one. Who is honest? Who is pure? Who is living righteously? That's what he was on about. Guru Ki Masjid. I don't know how many of you know this, but Guru Hargobind built a mosque in near Harmandir Sahib for his Muslim followers. Didn't want to convert them. Whatever your faith, whatever your religion, may you all be welcomed by the divine. May you all be blessed, he said. And so he created a mosque. Which prophet has done that? Most of the time, if you don't believe in this, then, you will have no salvation. But he said, no matter what, no matter which path you take, we take different paths to the same source. May you all be blessed. This is the largest. This is the inclusion. This is the equity. This is the respect that we grant when who is good. And it's not fragile. And when it's not unhealthy. And this is a quote from Guru Nanak's Violin. Nicha anandar neech Nichi kum atinch. Nanak tin ke saath but they're so there. I associate with those who are unique. What do I have to do with those that have high status and who are powerful? I don't care my turn. Jithe need samani, jithe nadar teri bams. Those who become humble, I can tell that they are grace-wise. This is Sikh's point. This is Sikh's equity. Now, I come to a point where there is this huge gap between the teachings of our gurus and our cultural practices. And because I know what I'm going to say is going to be a tough truth, but my gurus have taught me to say truth to power. It's a powerful congregation of people. So after now, what am I going to say? Because many of you will not get it. A lot of you will not get it. So casteism, which gurus condemned, sexism that he's condemned, ritualism that gurus condemned. We have them all in our Sikh community today. We live by it. We do our Vambang. We conduct ourselves. Many years ago, I led a small Kirtan group from India to Singapore. This was part of IVGS. And I was pretty young at the time. Probably not even probably in my 20s. And we landed. Warm welcome by the high-ups in Singapore, Gurdwara, boards, executives, and all those. And then one person comes to me and puts my hand on my shoulder and says, Biba, to see Jatto ke Papa. I had not heard those terms. And I said, I don't know. I said, I said, but I can ask my brother and let you do, he might know. So I called up Fafarji, founder of Bytes. And I said, Papa, see Jatto ke Papa. And he says, oh, they didn't ask you this question. I'm like, these people that you sent me to, they asked me. He says, tell them, Masika. I'm like, but they want to know. He says, why do they want to know? Well, they want to know because there are Gurdwaras of Jats, of Ramnayas, of Papas, of other subcastes and castes. And based on that, they were going to send a group to perform. I'm sure it is still there. I don't think big reformers come and those Gurdwaras are still there. Okay. So I get married. I have a cousin boy, and he learns to do Bhangra. And his Bhangra teachers are, by then I know the Jatsa because I have been educated, right? That there is a difference between the Jat and the Papa community. And so these are two wonderful, very, I want to say, great dancers, Jat Sikhs, and my 10-year-old boy is so impressed with it. And he said, Mom, they're just amazing. I said, I know they're really good. I saw that. He says, how can I become a Jat Sikh? So I said, what do you mean? He says, I just love them. Do you go to a school or a university to become a Jat Sikh? And I said, no. He says, so I can never be a Jat Sikh? He's so fascinated by the dance and their speed and their movement and the rhythm and the way they talk. And I said, the closest thing you can come to becoming a Jat Sikh is if you marry a Jat Sikh. Except that's not going to happen because they will not let their daughters marry out of the Jat Sikh. So poor guy was quite deflated that he'll never be a Jat Sikh. I have a girlfriend who I just adore her because she's all about Sabha. She's a Jat Sikhni. She created a Gurdwara, and after running it for 8 or 10 years, she handed it over to another group. Enough budget, no fight, no voting, no nothing. Because, okay, we've done enough. Okay, it's your turn to run. Younger people, go for it. However, when she was looking to get married, it had to be her Jat Sikh. It could be a Sikh who didn't wear a turban. That was fine. That was okay. Identity is fine. And that's what thinking. But it had to be Jan Sikh. And I said to her, I said, my dear, I'm just so surprised that it has to be a Jan Sikh. She says, you don't understand because you're not a Jan Sikh. I said, okay, that's fine. So that is the divide mass. ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਗਵਾ ਲਾਂਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਢ ਛੱਡਾਂਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਰ ਦਾਂਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਸਟ੍ਰਸਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਦਾਂਗੇ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਟੋਲਰੇਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਓ। My dad was an Ahluwalia, a proud Ahluwalia. And when I realized that we're not supposed to have a caste, I dropped my last name. So I'm Kaur. And my dad said, Bachiyo, Auntie Sati, lineage hai. And Sati pride hai. Jasa Singh Ahluwalia de se hai hai. I said, Dad, my Guru Gobind Singh ki diya. Main Kaur haan. And that's it. He was hurt. He was quite hurt. Because Ahluwalias wanted to marry their daughters into the Ahluwalia community. And I said, I'm done. I'm apart. And what was so heartwarming for me was a few years later, Dad dropped out my head and resigned from his voluntary position as Ahluwalia Pratarina President and Patrika writer. So it was very heartwarming for me. He didn't say anything. He didn't tell me. But one day I said, that's the city elected. And they didn't take right. So, okay, I have to hurry up. Also, sexism, domestic abuse, most rampant in the Punjab. Emotional verbal, the way we raise our kids, gender inequality right here in our families. Gender norms and expectations are different from boys. And they are there like that. We were talking about domestic abuse in Gurdwara, and Pushpinda ji, who runs the Khalsa school, says that they witness abuse in just outside the Gurdwara premise. Often, this is what is happening in our community. Marrying outside the village. I'm going to talk just very, very briefly on this. So, more and more of our kids are going to choose mates that are non-Salman religion or nothing. What do we do? This is my question. Do we ostracize them? Do we condemn them? Do we embrace them? What is our role when they come back and say to us, you taught me manas ki jaan sambhali ki pehchan pa. Why are you telling me? When Guru Nanak Sahib said there is no Hindu or Muslim or whatever, why are you telling me that I cannot marry an answer? So these are some of the questions we have to face and answer them. And dowry, another evil that has raised its head again and again and is never. Rituals. We pay people to do a kanpat and we are not even present. We pay people to do ardas for us. We still do karwa chauth amongst the thieves. And we do sukhna, which is an exchange. Babaji, you give me this, I give you this. I will give up eating a mango. Or Babaji, if you do this, if I go do this 40 times, can you give me whatever? This is the ritualism that has come up with our meat. How do we change? How do we get rid of it? Number one, education. We really teach. You know what Gurbani says? Gurbani says, Satgur ki Bani Sat Swaroop hai. Gurbani bani. Not mantha teko alone. Not go to the Gurdwara Charao money and ask for the Baichi to mention your name in the Ardas. Or have a plaque in your name in our manasa. No, not that. To become Gurbani, to live Gurbani. Start worshipping Sri Guru Granth Sahib Foods. Take the Bani as a beacon to live your life. Let the leadership roles go to the youth, to women for a change. And don't have caste pride. Try Sikh pride or no pride. Humility. Raise strong Sikh girls and boys who respect women so that sexism goes away. Eliminate dowry. Eliminate these multi-million, billion-dollar weddings. Simplify the ceremonies. We had none. We say, we don't believe in rituals. And then our kids find us doing rituals. And they ask us, what is this? And create safe shelters for those who are women who are abused. Take care of them. That's important. And then the only way for me to do this, to live this, is contained, but it's the way shown by Lunats. Now, that's it for me. Sorry if I've taken more time. Why did you come back?
Why was he go Khalsa? Why took it? Subtobenal and I'm very thankful to me. You see, lady, she's very good light on Sikhism, then feelings, and when he's 14, she covered marvelous stuff, which I wasn't going to talk about. So, as everybody knows, we are here to talk about equality. Being in Sikh, we already know that the Sikhism, each word, each letter, each beat is always talk about equality and send a message to everybody. Shri Guru Gurdwara Singh Maharaj, in 14th century, he was a revolutionary guru. He fought against Brahminical system at that time. And he had a tough argument and fights with all those Muslim Rajas, kings, and also the God Brahminical system. And he proved that everybody is safe. What's the difference between you and me? We enjoy the same sun, we enjoy the same air, our blood and your blood is all same color. So that was the 14th century. After Guru Gurdwara Singh Maharaj, Sheikh Gurdwara Dev Ji, who devoted his whole life for teaching of equality, when he had Pala and Madana on his left and right, the message of that was that everybody is same. So, in order to continue equality, alive and keep the equality more bad over a Daswe Guru, 10th Guru, Sheikh Jasbir Singh Maharaj, who say, चलो 4 वर्ड में खत्म कराऊंगी, फिर मैं फिर मैं नाम म्यूजिक खाऊं कि मैं 4 वर्ड ना खत्म करना है ताकि इक्वालिटी आ सके. So in order to finish that, he did he sent a very good message to everybody by making a Khalsa in 1699. Amrit Shah, 5 people, 5-6 people, each different caste. And so everybody can think what everybody can see is everybody is equal. All the gurus, they've been teaching us over 3-4 centuries that everybody is equal. But unfortunately, the humans, the people, they read the teaching of gurus body all the time, but still they are in the same, kind of discrimination, or they are not following the body of Guruji Maharaj. As you guys know, caste is one of the ugly disease which is make a mess. All over India, you guys can see that. We have almost 7,000 different categories, different castes. So think what, if there is that many castes, and it's a structure, how upper caste discriminate the lower caste was. And who try to bring that equality and try to finish that atrocities back in India. Sikhism is all about equality. But it's hard to implement and it's hard to put into people's brain and heart and mind that they should follow the teaching. But unfortunately, it did not happen. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, most of the one scholar on the planet, straight from Columbia University. I visited like 3 weeks ago, Columbia University. And I see when you walk in the library of Columbia University, there is only one statue on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar side. So I feel myself proud. There is each person who walk inside the door, every person is passing by from statue. And they have a question, who that person is? He's not American. He's not a British. The Indian guy who born in the lower caste, in Mahar caste, came to that level after so many struggles, after sacrifices, kids, studied that much, and he devoted his whole life to the scheduled caste, to the lower caste people, to give them a proper life, uplift their life, work hard like untouchable. So where you guys gonna find somebody like him who was so much educated, who has a lot of opportunities to become a caring being, person in the USA, but he left US, went back to India and service the whole people. In my eyes, I have full respect like the gurus, for it. Because what he did, our Guruji's message go into our 3-4 centuries. They could not do it, unfortunately. People don't follow. But he, after writing a constitution of India, he protected not only one category, he protected a lot of categories. The people who were called untouchable, he changed their life. They had no prior comport. One of the biggest change he made in India, in the core bill, that's the rights for the woman, which is the woman was suffering thousands of years, and they had no rights, no right to marriage, no right for the property, in the properties for the parents. You see now with the ladies, where the women of India stand right now. They become ministers. They run the countries. They run the states. So that is only because of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. In our Sikh religion, our old warriors, the people who sacrificed their life to maintain Sikhism, to be a Sikh, Hari Singh Bhava, Baba, Ranjit Singh. So all those people, they sacrificed their life. But when the time comes for the equality in Sikhism, I'm very sorry to say, they are being treated different. And we say, the most of the people who sacrifice their life in Sikhism is lower caste people. But they are being treated in Sikhism the way they're supposed to get treated. So that's one of the biggest what we have in our Sikhism. We wish only Sikhism is one of the most richest religion. In my eyes, I can appreciate exactly with that, as compared to everything else, because only this Sikh religion is talking about equality. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, when he was kind of, after study, when he learned about what is Hinduism, how that Brahminical system is kind of, treating the people very badly. He promised that, he died as a Hindu, but he will not die as a... I'm sorry. He said, I'm born as a Hindu, but I will not die as a Hindu. So he already had determination that down the road he's going to change his religion. He was so motivated to change his religion to Sikhism. And that's how it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, you guys know that the politicians, we have learned that you hardly find the politician who really serve the community. They always think of themselves first, then before they think for the community. We learn also right here in the last 7-8 months. So Baba Sahib was going to be a Sikh. But if the Baba Sahib going to be a Sikh, and that time, the 6 crore people of Dalits March, low caste people, they were also going to be a Sikh. And then the question was, if they become Sikh for the politician, who will be representing the surrounding committee? Who will be all high level? Because in all, then we say that actually, the majority of the people are going to be those people, Dalit people. Then if the 6 crore people become a Sikh, who is going to be representing in the viceroy? So because of that, the typical communist politician, they they deny, and the conditions were kind of, power sub is saying they're not going to accept like an equal or my Dalit people, then I'm sorry, he cannot accept this thing because there is still not equality, still is a discrimination. Baba Sahib said, when the caste system now going to finish from, he said, wherever all those dominant caste people, Manawati people, or Hindu people, wherever they will go, who want to maintain the caste, they will create a mess and they will create a caste discrimination all over the world. That's what we find in the USA also. When I just talk about SB403, and when they just give the testimony, people who are saying there is not a caste discrimination, they need to wake up, check their inside thoroughly, and they can find out tons of testimonies. The caste discrimination is all over. Reach to us. You guys can talk to all of our people, Punjabi people, or some other folks, Indian people. That's why this has been 403 bill came in the pension. Anti-caste discrimination. When this bill came, the duty as a good human being was supposed to be, a man, you are secular, you are Muslim, you are Christian. Let's work out together and make this bill pass so nobody can discriminate on base of caste anymore. That's how it was supposed to be. But unfortunately, the people who has their ego in their heart, who think they are very big, they want to maintain the caste system, they oppose that bill without even understanding it properly, without even, checking slowly the history, where we are and what have we. They just ignore that bill and start very instantly. But this is a law of land. We start from March, different phases, past and senatorial, unanimously, very strongly in the judiciary, all level to pass, then a Senate of 40, only one opposed out of 40. And then when it came to Assembly, all the judiciary assembly member out of 11, only one was against that. After the modification, we were okay with that modification. We accepted it. Then the assembly passed with the 55 support, only 5 reject, against 20 absent. What it says that this bill has a strength and the reality, and it was protecting everybody, both sides. Lower caste cannot discriminate, upper caste cannot discriminate lower caste. This was a beautiful bill. In order to avoid all kind of unnecessary headaches or unnecessary cases or unnecessary HR problems in the future in America, this was very helpful. But what a tragedy. This bill was going to on 7th October. Wait for almost more than a month, and then veto. What we learned, lot of stuff, all this bill was vetoed. After involvement of 120 government officials, 40 senators, 80 assembly, only one person who ignored all those people who were suffering from discrimination, caste discrimination, who fought very strongly against those Manuvadi people who want to maintain the caste system, several ones, and then passed through by law. One person, he closed his eyes, just only see his motivation for his future campaign, just only see how he is going to be funded for his future, all those kind of elections, and just only veto the bill. We sent him a lot of requests before even he veto the bill to meet him. Most of them was ignored and they did not meet us. So that's why I'm saying is all the politicians not work for the community. This bill was a very good bill. So now it's our responsibility to stand with the right thing. I have given you very briefly this about SB403, how one person veto over 120 people. What is the motivation? We have videos, we have pictures, we have newspapers, all this stuff. But hardly in more country like USA, we are in a very successful democracy of the world. If this can happen right here, it means money can buy everything. It's very dangerous. We need to play our part. Thanks to all our Sikh organizations, 40 Sikh Gurus, they support us. We appreciate them. They do understand and follow the party of Guruji Maharaj and try to remove any kind of caste discrimination in the planet. We are a dedicated people. We are a follower of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who really made the change by writing a Constitution of India and protect all those people. If he was not going to write on the Constitution of India, I was not going to be able to write or speak something like this on the podium. I was just sitting back in India, do some washing some dishes or do some, laundry work. So we will not sit down, we will not sit back. We will continue to fight with this. People who are dangerous to democracy, people who are just motivated by the money, it's all of it's not only my responsibility, everybody's responsibility. We need to stop right there. Because if this is going to be continuing like this, we do not have all the kind of sources for the money. Political powers behind go in the back and just move on the back. We don't have those kind of sources. But when we are in the middle, we will not sit back and let, this bill we do until it completely exposed. You know, there's a work hard to finish this thing, and we're on it. Thank you. So my humble request to you guys, just think about humanity. Act as a good human being, and we already have. We can learn from past a lot of stuff. How certain powers, how certain Manuvadi people, how these people work behind you, how they play the games, and how they go against humanity. But one thing for sure, if we all unite, we can shut them down, and we have to do it. We can see what happening back in India. Being a Punjabi, I don't have a main part like Punjab. It doesn't mean that only Sikh can be Punjabi, no. Hindu, Christian, Sikh, Muslim, whoever born in Punjab, they are Punjabi, they have same kind of willpower, same kind of love for their country, and same kind of love for their Punjab. So we all need to be, think positive. I know we always talk about, we need to maintain our local language, we need to think about Punjab. But if we're just going to be thinking in our heart, in our mind, not going to happen. We all need to unite it and work against these kind of forces who are kind of working against us behind the scene. Otherwise, we'll be killed or we'll be kind of treated like this one by one. Jaipur, right to the Khalsa.
And I would request Mrs. Dwindon to introduce their guest just for 2 minutes.
Well, Rita Gore's bio lists her as a graduate at UC Davis, Yale College, and American University. She believes she has grown most in her role as a Sikh, a mother, a daughter, a friend, and as a writer, educator, speaker, and community advocate. She is the lead creator and editor of the Gore's Reimagined Story Collection. This story collection illuminates Sikh women's truth-centered narratives while they explore how to travel down Guru Nanak Ji's path to freedom. The stories explore what it looks like to claim and reimagine our own journey towards freedom. Gore and her team believe it is a story collection for the Sikhs and Gores, wise and young, the bold and timid, and everyone in between. Meet the Gore is happy to bring this story collection to her hometown of Yuba City. Please join me in welcoming Rita Gore.
It's just so nice to be here. All the memories of growing up here just are flooding my mind. I'm going to honor these distinguished guests, these distinguished speakers by saying I am the child of a mixed caste marriage. So I don't know where I fall into this category, but I do know that the discussions we've had in our home, the challenges we've had in our home, all led to fierce and unconditional love for each other and humanity. So I want to thank the Vindler Diol and the Punjabi American Heritage Society for really uplifting the story collection. They've gotten behind it in powerful ways. Thank you, Dr. Kang. I also want to just recognize two writers that are in the crowd that will be delivering powerful stories to you. One you just heard from, Jessie Kaur, and then Harjeet Kaur, who is the Santa Clara Deputy Counsel. Did I get that right? Okay. She's a powerful advocate for the community. She too is writing, or she has written for the collection. So this collection will be coming out in January 2024. My parents served this community as physicians. They believed in the power of healing, growth,
and resilience. I, too, as a storyteller, believe in the power of healing, growth, and resilience. At graduate school, I dreamed about Sikh American stories for our children, for ourselves. As a community, we matter. Our stories matter. Our lives matter. The love we give each other matters. The pain that we cause each other matters. And what we've learned from it, it really does matter. I want stories that reflect back who we are to our children and to other youth in our communities. One such story in the collection is about a Dadaji who takes time with his granddaughter to challenge her own self-imposed limits on herself. The story documents how their weekly lunches are a landscape for him to say, there is no limit to your leadership. There is no limit to your capacity. There is no limit to the positive impact you can have on this world. That granddaughter today, Manpreet Beji, is immigration counsel at the White House for President Biden's administration. We have no limits. It's the conditioning that we need to work through together as a community. And I echo Dr. Kang's statement. It's through dialogue, powerful dialogue, that this can happen. We hope this book serves as a tool for dialogue. Please challenge me or any of the stories you read. I do believe you will embrace these stories. You will fall in love with these stories, these characters, and these writers. Thank you for your time. And I just wanted to just say one quick thing. We have 2 postcards we'll pass out if you would like to find out more. And Waibuchi Kasa, Waibuchi.
Thank you, Betadine. Thank you for being here, and thanks for sharing your one and about your books. Since we are talking about books, we have few books here on sale. Actually, there are 2 books are written by our local society member, Dr. Vinder Broad. And we also have a book which took 25 years of hard work. That book documents the journey of our community in this area over 100 plus years. So please buy those books. Those books are supposed to be in your house, not sitting in the storeroom. So when you leave, so buy one for yourself, buy one for your neighbor, buy one for your boss, and maybe one for your kid's teacher. Believe me, you will really like that book. That book has the story, how we came to this country and how we became as successful Americans, and it's a very powerful story. For another day, but please grab some books, and after the seminar, any of you want to have a tour of the museum, we will head to the museum, and I will meet you guys there and give you the directions. So, jada samay na liye. So now we're gonna be here for real fireworks. The people who did all the work in last many months, that doesn't mean these people represent all of them, but they were important players. So I will start with Amar Sheikh Gill. Please come on the panels. You all know Amar Sheikh Gill is a 30. He's very active in politics. He works with all parties, but he and is very active in Democrat Party right now. So Nandeep Singh, you all know Nandeep. He's the founder of Chikara movement. With his, he has established many student organizations all over the state. When you drive on Highway 99, you will see Chikara signs. Those kids have adopted that highway. Besides that, I know him since he was a kid. His both parents are physicians, but he decided not to study medicine. He decided to go and do in a different field to make the world a better place. I'm not saying the doctor not make it better, but what he's doing is he's touching a lot more lives. So thank you, Nandi. The next panelist is Renu Singh. She's a master of public health. She just had a little baby, and she brought a babysitter with her. So thank you, Renu, for being here. I know you had a long journey from Bakersfield. And next one we have is Dr. Nirmal Singh. He's a hospitalist. Actually, I say Renu is a matter of Nirmal Singh. So they're both husband and wife working very, very hard on SB403. This panel will be moderated by, I earlier mentioned, Tinbori Sundaraja. She is a founder of Equality Lab, and she will tell you more, but she was in the forefront everywhere. Please come and join Ms. Sundaraja.
Good afternoon, everybody, and J Beam. It's really an honor to be here because the incredible historicity of the battle around SB403 is a campaign that was many years in the making, and it's so wonderful to be here with both old friends and new friends because this campaign had many, many touch points. And I was so surprised to see Harjit here because in one way, much of the battle of SB403 also started with the California textbook battle, and that's actually how I met Harjit. So it's really a pleasure to be here. So I think that one of the things to know with the campaign for SB403, California was always going to be ground zero for a historic bill like this because we have always had some of the first cases related to caste discrimination for over 20 years. In fact, one of the first lawsuits and criminal investigations related to caste happened in the city of Berkeley, where a landlord named Lucky Bali Reddy actually trafficked over 200 workers, including 20 young girls, to be his sex slaves. And that case was so serious, so severe, that it led to federal investigation and eventually litigation that led to the first conviction related to caste trafficking and set up the first trafficking laws in the state. So in other areas, they might say that caste does not exist, but you cannot say that here in California. And certainly as someone who went to school at UC Berkeley at the time of that case, I saw that. I saw caste all throughout many different aspects of my life. And in our work at Equality Labs, we conducted one of the first surveys related to caste discrimination. And we saw 1 in 4 caste-oppressed people face physical and verbal assault, 1 out of 3 educational discrimination, and 2 out of 3 workplace discrimination. And that data set really went on to define so much of the conversation around this bill SB403. And we were very lucky in our district, Senator Aisha Wahab, who is the first Afghan and Muslim senator in California's legislature, when she began her campaigning last year, one of the defining things that she saw was that when she went door to door, many people in the district complained of caste discrimination. There was people who were being discriminated on the basis of housing. And in fact, one of the stories we heard was of someone who was called Blackie by his neighbors, and that people would come up to him and do this thing with their finger, like they want to slice his neck. And they said, "I'm going to cut your balls off." This wasn't somewhere far away. This was in Fremont. And this is just small cases that we hear. This was very new for her whole team to hear this. And this was in the process of campaigning. And of course, also in our district was also the case that came up related to the Cal State system, where our colleague Prem Pariyar, he actually worked with many students across the Cal State system because they were seeing significant discrimination across the Cal States and the UCs. And those students worked with many different organizers, and they got cast as a protected category in the Cal State system. And UC Davis, who we have a wonderful professor here from UC Davis, became one of the first universities to add cast as a protected category. So this, alongside some of the work that Amar Shirgill led in the Democratic Party, where the Democratic Party added caste as a protected category to its bylaws, inspired and informed Senator Aisha Wahhab's decision to make this one of her first centerpiece legislations of her first year in office. And she reached out to Umar and to Umar, and then, they got to us. And then we brought in the UN Rapporteur on Racism and Discrimination, and we pulled together a series of lawyers to then begin writing this bill. And it was a tremendous historical responsibility to do that work, because we knew that much of the law, that what we would write here would go on to define this conversation across the country. And so many of the organizers here had very critical roles in kind of shaping that conversation. So I'm going to pass the microphone to Umar to speak a little bit about the legal questions around this. Because again, when we talk about adding caste as a protected characteristic, we understand what it means in our homelands. It means reservation. It means the ways that we understand our divisions socially. But caste as a protected characteristic here in the United States is very different. And that's what our lawyers had to really contend with. How do we shape and talk about this with American civil rights constructs? So, Umar, I wonder if you can talk about that, because there was a lot of amazing debates and conversations that really pushed this civil rights conversation forward.
Thank you. So let's talk about law, and let's talk about politics. If we only think about what we read in the newspapers, the headlines, you will think that there was a caste discrimination bill. It didn't get signed by Governor Newsom, so we lost. But I'm here to tell you that this group of amazing activists and so many other folks from around the country, around the nation, they won this issue. And that's not the narrative, but that's the state of the law in California. Now, there's politics, and we are going to develop a response to how we lost a political fight, and we are going to work on how we talk to our elected officials who didn't join on, and even some of our Sikh elected officials who didn't join in. So we will respond to that politically. But let's talk about the law. So before I introduce Senator Wahhab to Ted Morty, and before I authored the change to the California Democratic bylaws, what was the state of the law at that time? So at that time, if you came forward to an attorney and said, I have a job, I've been discriminated against because of my caste, the attorney would say, there's nothing in California law that talks about caste. It talks about ancestry, religion, race, but nothing about caste. So I don't know that I want to take your case, but if I do take your case, it's going to be the first time that any judge has ruled on this in California. And the case that we've heard about like that is the Cisco case. So in the Cisco case, the allegations were that a person was discriminated because of their caste and race and other things. And the first thing that the defense attorneys did, the first thing that the attorneys for Cisco did, is they filed a motion to the judge that said, dismiss this case, dismiss everything about caste. Caste is not protected. And all of the Hindutva nationalist groups that supported this issue, their position at that time was, there is no caste discrimination in California, despite all the evidence. But two, if there is, it's not covered under the law, so you have to dismiss this case, and that's what they supported. So the attorneys like me and others, we came together with Ted Morty, with Senator Wahhab, and we had this discussion. If that's the state of the law, let's just change the law. And it's not unique. As an attorney, as a trial lawyer, I'm vice president of the Capital City Trial Association. We routinely look at judicial findings across the state. We said, hey, this judge was wrong, or this thing seems clear. Let's write the law, let's fix it so everybody in California knows what the law is on this issue. Let's protect these people because it's not really cool. So because of that, the Senator Wahhab with Ted Morty and others, this bill was written to clarify the law. So we don't have to wait 5 years for a case to go to the Supreme Court, and maybe we win, maybe we lose. Maybe the judge says, I don't really know what caste is, and nobody's ever talked to me about this issue. Let's just write the law, fix it. So that's what we did. And you've heard from other speakers today that this was a unique bill. It had Democratic support, Republican support, interfaith support. We had support from labor, the largest labor organizations in the nation. It was a bill unlike I have ever worked on, and I worked on a few. And it had consensus support, really not much opposition, until we got to the governor's desk. But here's what I want to tell you why we actually won this issue. Along the way, what happened? Along the way, we got the American Bar Association to say caste discrimination should be protected. This law should be written not only in California, everywhere in the nation. This is a good law. Along the way, we got the API Bar Association, Asian Law Caucus. We got black bars. We got here in the Sacramento, we got a coalition of bar organizations. So what happens is an issue that nobody was talking about, that really was just ignored. Every attorney, certainly every leader in bar organizations, and absolutely judges, right? I wrote an op-ed that went in our local magazine. Every attorney, every judge, certainly read that article. And what we developed is a consensus. There now does not exist one attorney in California who has not read this, who has not seen it, who sort of knows when this case now comes in front of the judge. That judge will say, oh yeah, I know about this stuff. I've seen the bar. Everybody knows this is where I'm going with this, right? Every plaintiff's attorney that takes one of these cases, somebody new comes into their office and says, oh yeah, I know what your issue is on caste. Yeah, I know this is clear, the bar, everybody agrees with it. Everybody now agrees that caste is protected in California, even though the bill didn't pass. And why do they say that? They say that because we said that it is protected under the law, but we're going to make it clear. Even the most ardent opponents of this bill, even the right-wing Hindutva folks that were dead set against this bill, even they were forced to come back to us at the end and say, the California Constitution, as it is currently written, protects caste. And that argument was made so strong that the governor, even when saying, I don't support this bill, wrote in his statement to the world, the California Constitution currently protects caste. So when I say, yeah, we didn't get this bill, we won this issue, and that is clear. That's the law in California. That's the message we need to carry forward. Yes, and we'll come back and we will pass this bill. Maybe this time we with another governor. But we won this.
And I think what Amar is saying is so important because people who are trying to raise the issue of caste crimes or caste discrimination were being turned away by police, by HR departments, and university centers for equity because they themselves were not sure. They would say, I feel bad for you, but I don't know, is this really covered? Does this even happen here? So that lack of clarity of the law and the lack of legal guidance was really a treacherous place for people experiencing caste discrimination. And we are able to move civil rights when we both change the law and we bring cases forward. So whatever happens with SB403, we cannot get significant cases forward if people are unclear about caste being a protected category. So that is no longer the case. We know that caste is covered under existing characteristics, and that clears the path. And that is so important because we took so many testimonies as part of the campaign for SB403. Because as Amar mentioned, we had a coalition of over 250 organizations across every issue area. People were collecting and gathering stories in many different industries. And I think the thing that was so painful is that out of the testimonies that we received, only one or two actually went to law enforcement. Only one or two actually went to law enforcement. And this one person that went to law enforcement, again, people found out in his housing complex that he was Dalit. And they went up to him and they said, how dare you immigrate here? Back at home, you would be cleaning our toilets. You would be working our fields. I'm going to effing kill you. And he had to go to the police 4 separate times before he got a police report that he could use to file a restraining order. So that need for protection and clarity of the law is a necessity. It happens with other vulnerable communities, and we follow a path tread for us by other civil rights movements that we very much powerfully kind of created the next torch forward. So I want to pass the microphone next to Dr. Nirmal, because I know Nirmal, when we started and put the coalition together, we talked about the need to build a pretty large statewide apparatus. And based in Bakersfield, you were also one of the key folks that also helped to get Jasmine Baines involved in the issue. I wonder if you could talk about what that was like to do that statewide level of work and what you saw in your journey around that.
Hello, everyone. Satsrikal, Tapping. My voice is getting better. I was sick for the last 2 weeks. So this journey for SB403 was, I would say, it's a big struggle. It's a learning struggle. I've used the word learning struggle, and which gives us more motivation to continue the struggle. And as a physician, I know how to treat patients. I don't know how to bring this community together, but because we learned this from our community, how we can fight this. As a physician, what I've seen is this caste system. We don't see this. We see this as a social evil, but we don't see the mental trauma it does to you, to the generations, across generations, intergenerational. So that trauma was the one reason why I left India and came to US. And if we have to, our community has to face the same trauma here also, this was unacceptable. So that's the reason why we want to fight for this bill SB403. And I think the reason how I got involved into the SB403 is because of these two wonderful and powerful women. One is my sister Tarwari, and other my partner Railings. So these are the ones who introduced me to the bill, and my job was to bring everyone who we know who wants to fight against injustice, who want to fight against discrimination on the same page. And for that, definitely I had to request a lot of my colleagues, and we were talking about the caste. I think our former speaker talked about casteism in India, in Sikhism. So I had a positive response, actually. The people who helped me belong to the Dalit caste. So this is back. So they covered me, they helped me, so that's the reason why I was able to build up this coalition and start from scratch. Starting from scratch in Bakersfield, we had a lot of friends which spoke about this bill, and we got connection through one of our other physician colleagues to our assembly person, Jasbir Baines. And she seems very interested, and she came forward that, okay, this is for a good cause, and we're going to support you guys. That was the one piece, and then we had to travel across the whole California. And I was part of the Dr. Ambedkar Study Circle in California. And we have different people who were part of it, and they were living in different parts of California. I belong to Bakersfield, and other people belong to someone from Pittsburgh area, one from Sacramento, and that's how, and from the Central Valley. So that's how we got all the nodal points connected. So we brought this idea after I was introduced. So I called all of my friends. This is the cause. It's a cause, it's a humanitarian cause to fight against the caste discrimination that we all want. And they brought a lot of other people together. One of my friend who was here, Vinny Paul, he was also a member from Pittsburgh. Another member, Mr. Ramesh Suman, who is here. And there were a few people who are missing. So they were also a part of this whole, the nodal points who brought the community together. And this was not an easy task, and because my partner, my wife was, I would not use a wife, I would use a life partner. my life partner was pregnant at that time, a 5-month pregnancy. And it was very tough for me to take time off. And it was very tough for her also to join us with our 7-year-old daughter. So it was a big challenge as a father, as a husband, as a physician to go across all these challenges. Why? Because this issue was very important. Because this divides our community. This actually, as Dr. Ambedkar has written in Annihilation Caste, this is anti-national. If we let this caste system spread in the U.S., it's going to divide our community, and it will go against Californian economy, and it will be not good for everyone. It doesn't matter for people from South Asia or every culture. It will infect them. So we want to fight against this system. And all these nodal points I was talking and going to and then traveling to all the Guru Ghats. So I started with all the Guru Ravidas Guru Ghats because I was involved with them because of my nodal point. So I requested them, we went there to each Guru Ghats, especially starting from Fresno and then to Pittsburgh, then Sacramento and Bay Area. So they were involved and they understood the message of like what our we can say great parents have said, what our gurus have said. And they were all on the same page. And then our younger brother here, Nande from Thara movement, was also a uniting force from a different aspect, a different part of our community. And I was also connected with him very closely. So we brought that part together, and I brought this part together. So it was a big collision, and we have a lot of people who were on the roads, who were on each and every advocacy day. I would appreciate people who follow Guru Ravidas. They were almost every time they were there, and people from Sikh community, people from Muslim community, every community. I would say this is the bill that has united our community across all the religion lines. So this is the beauty of this bill. We have across all the religion lines, across all the caste lines. I have people here who are Muslims. I talk to them in person that, hey, you need to fight this. This disease also exists in your religion. And we have people from Sikh community. We have people from Christian community also who we talked and who we also brought into this carnival of SB403. And we have people from even within within Sikh community also. We have a lot of, I have seen a lot of my friends who are judges, they came forward to help. I have a lot of friends who are Dalits, they came forward to help. So within the Sikh community also, we have all the castes, they were together fighting for this cause because they know, they have seen this in India also, and they don't want to face it here. They want their generation, next generation, their future generation, to be free from this disease. It's a mental disease. We don't want our kids to suffer from this disease. And this was the main reason. And I am also a father of 7-year-old daughter, now 4-month-old daughter also. So it becomes my role to give them a safe environment in California. So that's how this whole campaign was important, and that's why I was involved in the whole campaign.
Thank you for that, Dr. Nirmal. And a lot of folks don't realize that, the work that Dr. Nirmal did was such that he would basically drive, what is it, a 10-hour, 8-hour drive, 6-hour drive from Bakersfield to Sacramento? Okay, 5 to 6 hours, 4 hours if you're in your Tesla. And then he would work the night shift. And then at the end of his night shift, come to do advocacy, go back, and then work another night shift. And he did this for over 8 months. And I think that's why I'm so indebted to his leadership and to Reino's leadership as well, because it was such a tremendous sacrifice. And they are only 2 leaders of many leaders that also did such similar intensive schedules. I wanted to pass the mic also to Raina to talk a little bit about the role of women's leadership, because I think that was also another significant part of SB403, is how many women leaders were involved throughout the coalition, and that was a crucial part to our winning process. And I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about that.
You guys can hear me, right? Jerry and Sashibal to everyone. So, ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ fight start ਹੋਈ, we and Tanmori were always together working for like last 3-4 years. And Tanmori always kept me in the loop that, okay, this is a bill is going to be introduced, it's going to be big. And our first thing was, how are we going to bring the whole community together? And the unique thing about this bill was, it was not a community that we said only men was there. No, it was a woman-led fight. Right from A to Z, it was women right from every single step of the way. We the women organizations like Equality Labs, Caste Equity Forces, Caste Tech Forces, every single woman was involved. And every single profession, we had women come in and help. GST call ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਡਾਕਟਰਾਂ ਦੀ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਡਾਕਟਰ women ਸੀ. GST engineering ਦੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ engineers ਸੀ. ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ legal force piece ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ we have the legal women trainer men. We had Tanuja Gupta, who led the Caste Equity Force. And then we had Kiran from the Sikh Association Legal Defense Organization, who was doing a lot of organization work. And then when we come to our Ravidasya, women were up front in every single step of the way. ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ side ladies ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੋਟੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਟੁੱਟਦੇ. How are we going to make it there? Our knees are not working. And I was like, ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਂਟੀ, ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ 6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਚ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਂਟੀ ਦੀ knees ਅੱਧਾ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪੇ part ਚੱਕ ਕੇ I'm there with you guys. And when we did the first advocacy in these for the Senate Judiciary, we didn't even know what we were doing. We had the women, but they didn't even know how to speak English. They have been home for the whole life. They have been cooking. They have been cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids. They don't know what the outside world is. They don't know they're in America. They just think that's what they were doing, That's what they're doing here. And the ladies came out, leaving all these jobs. They came out for the judicial meeting. उन्होंने अपने folder फाड़ के सारे परीक्षक सामने खड़ा खलोला. कहते नहीं नो, उन्होंने समझा जी कि सारी no. And then that's the time when we spoke to Jasbir Singh. So I was like, okay, auntie, ऐथे तुसी अपनी language गाल करो. सारी गल्लां दसो की होया ताड़े नाल. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਕੀ face ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ. More than men, like the women really made a powerful impact in this on SB403. And then when we came back, right after the first judiciary meeting, ladies telling me, "Look, some like naya word dikhata." We don't know this is America, but we got to see the top level of America, like sitting in the Senate office, meeting with the senators and the biggest officers who are running the California, biggest economy in the United States. They got to meet with them, and that's where they go, California. So this was very unique, and when I heard these women, I was like, oh my gosh, that's all it needed, a woman to lead this bill. Just one woman, just one Tanmori Sundarajan, and how many women just started lining behind. It was so important. And that's where this bill was so important, and the women coming out so important, because this is where Dr. Ambedkar and Guru Nanak started this. They said, kill the patriarchy, and then you will kill the caste system. And that's where the Sikhism was started, to giving the equal rights to women. Sikhism is the only religion in the history, in the world, that has given equal rights to women. You can pick up any religion in the world. None of them talks about equality for women. I was raised in UP side. My parents were all Punjabis. They migrated from Sialkot before the partition. And this whole Punjabi community migrated from them during the partition time and came and settled in this part of UP, which is Meerut. And so I have seen caste the worst, like in Hinduism religion. And then I was always being protective because, this is the Punjabi hunde, inna ch caste nahi hundi. And when I say in Punjab, yes, we do have caste. It's a different form. And then it was really nice to hear that from in school. I went to RS Samaj school. Like, you don't know what RS is, you don't know that. I have went to school. Those schools, they were very expensive to afford in those days, but I was lucky enough because my parents were educated. And we went to those schools, and this is every time the kids are talking about caste, it was the first topic before they even make friends. And this is before high school. But the high schools, the ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਾਹਮਣ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਲਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਢਿਮਕਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਆਵੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੁੱਛਣ ਦਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹ said okay great thank you stay on ਕਰਨ ਨਿਕਲ ਕੇ ਚੱਲ ਜਾਣਾ. So this is the beauty of Sikhism, and this is where our women had the power right from the starting. Our women are there, they are powerful, and they came out of their homes, leaving their domestic works, and came to the Senate offices, met with these politicians and all these women and then when we were doing the Senate judiciary voting, and these women like Kenner Kia, and I was like, we were not telling them ki kehna ki hai tusi. We were telling them our bill hai apna, a bill aur it's bill da kya matlab hai, this is what this bill means. And what do you think? Do you want the equality? Aho asli nahi chahte asli sade bacche face karan future ch. And then they were in front of all these senators voting for themselves, and we were telling them, baby, vote no to vote. How can they not get it? Vote yes. It was very cute to see. Their pass yes, and somebody couldn't even say yes. Some of the men, they were 80 years old, never spoke their first word of English, and then yes. And some just did this and walked it. No, yeah, that's all we need. Just because the language doesn't matter here. What matters is what you want to do. That's what the beauty of America is. Like, you have the right to practice your own rights. You fight for your own rights and do your own mission work. So that was very beautiful, working with these all women. So any step we went, we had a woman leading every single step of the way. So that was the unique beauty of this bill, and that's where Sikhism and Dr. Ambedkar came together, teaching us, and that's where we learned, and that's where we executed this idea in this work. And today here we are with women-led SB403 till the end. And during the end time, it was, how many days? Like 31 days of fasting? 31 days of fasting of the warriors in the region.
That is 20 But let's on the end, Dr. Neville. Yes.
What I say?
And we have heard the most abusive words being women-led SB403. We all came together. All the ladies there were words saying that no. ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ SB403 ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਸੀ SB403 fight ਕੀਤਾ 80 I remember when Nirmal was in Pittsburgh Gurdwara, and we started teaching everybody that this bill is coming up, we need your support. There was a lady who was 80 years old, and she said she was the one who she was working with Kashiram during DS4, and she said DS4 all life. And we're like, see, this is our history, this is our people here. They have worked in the history, and there's no history written on this. This is what we have to bring out. And this lady actually came on the Judiciary Day with a stick, with her walker, and gave the vote. So this is the power in women, like 80 years old. And so that was another unique thing about this. Every single Gurdwara, we did the outreach from Equality Labs. We have so many women. And if I don't want to miss anybody's names, like there's so many here. Pramila, Dr. Pramila, she provided all the medical help too during, not just that, but she was right from the start all the meetings and the advocacy. So she jaja ke piga rakhi sare senators, assembly person there again. We asked it up in there as
sorry, we got a time check. It's okay. I want to bring in Nandi before we get to questions, and that. I think one of the things that's really innovative about what happened in SB403, which I also think is really important as other places take forward the question of caste, is we talked about caste as a global phenomenon, and that in California, there are multiple communities that experience caste discrimination, not just the South Asian community, but also indigenous communities who survived the Spanish caste system, as well as communities like the Baraka community of the Japanese community, and that this was a bill to cover any discrimination that was based on birth and work and descent. And I think some of the work, Nandeep, that you did in Fresno, where Fresno became the first city in California, second city in the United States to add caste as a protected category.
Thank you, Modi. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. You know, when I reflect on sort of this experience and then bring it to the local, I think one of the biggest things was, like, what are the internal conversations at seminars like this? What are the internal conversations you're having in your community? So, we've been talking about Halimi Raj. We've been talking about Begalpura. We've been talking about Gyani Dit Singh. We celebrate Baikar Singh and Pian Singh. We've worked in the Rio Linda Gurdwara. We've worked with the Gurdwaras on Cherry in Fresno. So it's really been, have you kind of watered it within the groups that you were actually working in? And so for the youth, the first time they heard about SB403, actually, to be honest, maybe before even Amar and Tanwari had even a conversation before the coalition grew, when we just knew it was a placeholder bill. Everybody was on board. There was no question. And these are all the conversations within right away. So what was going to be our position was absolutely going to be, as Jasbir shared it, just as Guru Nanak said, that Niche and the Needs jobs, that's where I'm going to be most connected. In terms of the work that we've been doing, you know, this is a powerful mauka that one, मतलब California the which और साड़ी बैंडी मतलब जो मनप्रीत कौर, Jasmeet Kaur bands, साड़ी वीर Karan bands. This is a new opportunity ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਦੀ maybe outside of Canada, ਜਿੱਥੇ at least California, US ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਦੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਦੀ ਵੇਖੀ ਨਹੀਂ. Here's an opportunity ਜਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ Republican Democrats ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ just kind of keep that same cycle, ਜਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਸਮਾਜ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਵੀਂ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਿਆ ਸਕਦੇ. And this is an opportunity that we have to present a new vision, an inclusive vision that brings forward California into the 21st century and beyond. And these were the types of conversations that we were trying to also have at a local level, wherever we could actually have those facilitate those conversations. So in at least in Fresno, California, we had long been working with a number of different organizations, especially the indigenous communities of Oaxaca and Guerrero. When I was growing up, most of my friends, almost all of them, actually their parents worked in the fields. It was just a different California at the time. And most of our, those that also worked in the fields tended to be from Armenia, from the Portuguese Azores, or if they were from Mexico, overwhelmingly from Jalisco and Michoacan at that time. Today, actually, farm working communities are which changed many times, even in the fields here in Sutter County and beyond. A lot of the communities that most work in the field are actually coming from Oaxaca and Guerrero. And especially the community from Oaxaca, there has long been sort of a caste system within Mexico, to which that Modi was alluding to, in terms of those that had more European blood versus those that may have had more indigenous. And those from the kind of mountainous regions of South Mexico. When we were sharing this was an opportunity where the communities came right away together. And so, as Denwadi shared, in Fresno, we were proud to be the first city in California to really kind of advance civil rights, both in terms of recognizing caste and also talking about indigeneity for the first time, and especially as a Falmouth community, very quickly is actually increasing in terms of those communities from Guerrero and Michoacan and Oaxaca. It's an opportunity for us to meet new folks, talk to new communities. Like I said, We had Portuguese Azores communities that were with us that day. We had our Armenian folks that very much sort of understood this issue. When we were working with our local city council members, one of the champions was a person whose roots are from Iranian Christian background, and he very much understood in Iran how those are sort of from Christian background are sometimes treated different by the Muslim majority in Iran. And so it was something that he kind of very much understood, that as California and as the United States becomes more diverse, we're going to have to also understand internal nuances. We can't just see all communities as in a blanket terms. And these were sort of the powerful conversations we're having. But I want to be mindful of our question and answer period, so I'll turn it back over to our moderator.
Thank you so much for that.
So I think some of you are in the back. Please come forward. Please bring your questions. And you want to probably come here and ask your question. That way you get recorded. But if you're too shy, you can stand up and ask there. So go ahead. This is a question asked.
Question or comment? Yes, come ahead.
Where do we go from here? And what is the future of what you have created, by the way? And it's an excellent presentation by all.
And for sake of meeting out a deep question by Dr. Rangi, he says, where we go from here? I know you got it. Maybe for the camera sake. Thank you.
So I think that's a really great question, and I'm going to answer it, and if anybody else on the panel would like to speak to it, I'll cede the floor also to you. I think what's important to know is the movement is larger than this one bill. Already there are multiple cities and other states and other institutions that want to move to add caste as a protected category, and that is how movements are. It took many, many decades to get the Civil Rights Act that enshrined the right to vote and diversified and gave equal rights to BIPOC communities in the United States. And I think similarly, on this issue of caste, we have very strong opinions from opponents to this bill that are interested in preserving the right to discriminate. And that's very clear, because before we started, as Amar talked about, our opponents had a long history of denying that caste existed. In fact, that's why it was so great to see Harjit, because when we were in the California textbooks, the same people that opposed SB403 also at that time said, caste doesn't exist in India, caste doesn't exist in the United States. Oh, and let's remove the fact that Guru Nanak rebelled against Brahmanism. For them, facts don't matter. Evidence doesn't matter. For them, it's an ideological position to enshrine the right to discriminate. And so I think it's very critical to know that we don't have a choice not to fight right now. And in fact, if we don't fight, we are ceding the political arena to that. And that is really, for me, one of the biggest lessons of SB403. Many of the people that worked on this bill, this was the first bill they've ever worked on. This is the first time they ever meant they're elected. And this was the first time many people ever went to Sacramento to do advocacy. Despite that, we got all the way almost to the end, and the single point of failure was a white dude. One who not once met a caste-oppressed person. He only met the wealthy, and he met the people who were connected to far-right movements. So this was not a failure of our democratic process, but it shows that we need to lean in more to continue to engage with our electeds and to engage on advocacy on our end. And so I really encourage people, if you want to add caste as a protected category in your institution, at your county level, at your city level, or at your university, this is the time to do it, because we will continue forward. And as Nandeep was speaking to, many more communities that are impacted by casted systems are coming forward. And it was a very, very powerful model that came out of Fresno that I think will be the ongoing model that comes forward. Amar or Nandeep for...
Yeah, I'll just say on this issue for the summit. Our future in the United States is not dependent on the Democratic Party. As a former executive board member, I'm happy to say that. And it's not dependent on the Republican Party. There are plenty of Republicans that understood this issue and stood with us. And there are plenty of Democrats that were on the wrong side of this issue. But our future remains with the principles of Guruji and the principles that we heard from our speakers today. And that's to stand with others that are being oppressed. That's to stand with others that are being oppressed. This Sunday, our ethos is to stand with other marginalized communities. So we're talking about caste today, but in your lives, you will have opportunities to stand with others. And you may think, well, that's not my issue, or I'm not really connected to that. But what we need to understand is that you have many opportunities to stand with others. And every time you lift up other communities, you are also empowering everything that Abdul just taught us, and you are empowering the Sikh community. And that, as a member of the Democratic Party, might be not a message that you expect me to say, but we all need to be independent of those power structures. That's true power.
That's Dr. Benderwar. I think it's, you can come and ask together. They can afford your question, because we are Priyanka making a documentary.
Thank you so much. First of all, I must commend the speakers over here. And I was really inspired by Jessica-ji. I mean, I didn't know she belonged to the Aluwadias. For those who don't know, the closest thing the Sikhs had to George Washington was the Aluwadias. So, yeah. But then, my question is for everybody actually, but specifically for Nandif and maybe Amma. So she very adequately pointed out the paradox between, what the Sikhs doctrine says and what the Sikhs practice. What do we do for an intra-Sikh conversation so that she take what she's actually expecting of us? And, are we not basically asking a little bit less of ourselves, and what will the new generation be doing for it?
To have actually a proper conversation on caste is actually a little bit different than what academics have. Because it's actually looking at sociology in terms of when it matters, when it doesn't matter, how it interplays within say, I'll speak most specifically about a Punjabi Sikh community in California. And I say that with specificity because it functions very differently. The role that music may have, to be honest, most often when you're talking about marriage and dating, that's is when conversations kind of flows most manifest. I see sort of different kinds of opportunities, but more often than not, it's not so much, I would say, in the youth amongst themselves. It ultimately comes from whatever is the conversation that's happening from their homes. And so to a powerful degree and to a very negative degree, as much as the parents in this room think that their kids don't listen to them, their kids very much imbibe the cultures, the mores, and the different things that you, for better and for worse, that you share with your children. And I think as that conversation maybe get to change, I think our relationship with this conversation to actually have our theology and our sociology actually change.
Is that a question? Yeah, does you want to come in? And if there's other people that have questions, you can go ahead and just line up, and then we'll go right there.
Yeah, Nandi, I really appreciate the local community work that you're doing around this. You're doing it outside of South Asian borders, which is amazing, and connecting it to colonial history, which is amazing. My question is, I hope, or did the conversation with the governor take place? Does he have that cultural context now? Does he have that awareness? Does he have that learning itself? I know this group sat in him and actually taught him a thing or two.
Okay, so how many people know what happens with the governor? Can I just get a show of hands? A couple of people. Okay, some people. So for those that don't know, what ended up happening is that the bill was presented to the governor, I think it was like September 4th or 5th, and he had 30 days within which to review the bill. So during this time, of course, he had thousands of letters that went into him. He had all the judiciary as well as the testimony that was given in the previous parts of it. His staff also met with the head of South Asian Studies at Stanford. They met with the UN Rapporteur on Racism and Discrimination. They met with Punjabi lawyer Tarina Mand, who was a representative of the South Asian Bar
Association. And Professor Kevin Brown, who's one of the leading legal scholars on caste and racial civil rights. And there is and Professor Kulap Krishnamurthy, who is a constitutional. So their office certainly had legal expertise, scholarly expertise, community testimony, and data, and overwhelming letters of support from every single major legal association in the country, including the American Bar Association, the South Asian Bar Association, the Asian Law Caucus. There's at least 20 to 30 letters. So there's no question about its legality, the cultural competency that their office required. And traditionally, on bills like this, the governor's office usually does not meet with the people or the sponsors. His staff handle it. However, what happened during this period, which is why I'm really wanting to share how important it is for people to get involved in the political process, is the governor met with nobody individually except for donors. He only gave audiences to people that gave him money. So this was the one point where we did not have a plan around. We were living in one reality of American political process, which is we're going to engage in the political process. Our opponents are, let's just buy both parties, right? So you have to ask your electeds who were against this bill, why were they against this bill? Why did certain people come out? What money exchange? Follow the trail of those financial favors. So what occurred with Governor Newsom that was so different this cycle over any other electoral cycle was that Governor Newsom now has his eyes on the presidential ticket, right? So in September 27th, there was a meeting in Chicago of all of the national fundraisers that were part of the Biden-Harris Victory Fund for 2024. This is all the top donors that raise at least $100,000 for the party. And it was there, basically there was an email exchange where one of the leading Hindu nationalist opponents to this bill in Fremont, Dr. Ramesh Chopra, was the head of the Fremont Hindu Temple, emailed a Democratic donor named Ramesh Kapoor, who's in Massachusetts. Ramesh Kapoor is very close with Kamala Harris, and he emailed the White House and asked Kamala, can you connect me to Newsom? And guess what? Kamala did. And then Newsom said, there was some exchange where they said they would meet up in Chicago. And in that meeting, Ramesh Kapoor and Ajay Bhattaria, who is also another Hindu nationalist donor to the Democratic Party, in fact, he is the vice chair under the chief of finance for the Democratic Party. They pulled him aside and they said, look, if you do this bill, there's no discrimination here. You're going to impact businesses. And by the way, you don't want to piss off the South Asian community. We have other options for the presidential ticket. That's it. That's what it came down to. It didn't come down to facts. It didn't come down to evidence. It came down to political considerations and backroom politics. And we know those politics in India. It did not have to happen here, but it did. And that's why the work of what Amar has been doing for so long is so crucial. We do not have the option of not getting involved in politics. Even if we think that we are doing okay as an individual family or as an individual community, our opponents are buying the process. Ramesh Kapoor has been a bundler for the Democratic Party since the 1970s. He worked with Biden when Biden was a senator in the 80s. So this is how much our opponents are very much trying to buy the political process. And it's up to us to be able to create our own flank of power where we can have our values represented in the democracy. And it's a really sad thing that we have to say this at this point, but our opponents have inroads in both political parties. So I think it's very important that people understand we did not lose for a lack of power, for a lack of strategy. The governor vetoed the bill because he wants to be president and he was threatened with the loss of months.
Well, I just want to add something about the local community. We have a secretary of local Guru Nanak Sikh Gurdwara. So our local community initially didn't know much about the bill, so there was opposition. But many of these folks were kind enough to write the new letters. We have only one Gurdwara which hasn't taken the letter back, but the rest of the Gurdwaras corrected their stand. So there were some leaders who made mistake. They just didn't have the right information. But I'm not talking at the big level. I'm talking at voice.
And I think that's also really important, is that disinformation is also a critical weapon of our opponents. And, and I think that we have to be very strong as a community to continue to share and build our relationships with press. And Dr. King, your work, and Nandeep and Amar, you guys did a lot to fend off disinformation related to that. So
the next question is by Yadwinder Singh. He came all the way from East Coast. Like to type family, great job. You guys doing great work. So this is the disease that we brought as we were along given. And it's very deep rooted. I won't go too far, but I would like to bring to your attention and that you understand how deep rooted it's carried on by the Indian system, political system, social system for so long. When India, post-Indian independence, they just changed the words from the names they called in before to SCs, OBCs, but their social status doesn't change. There's no social English. They stays the same. So that doesn't help to eliminate the caste system, although they enshrined all that in the Constitution of India, equality, justice, sovereignty, and all those things. Now the question is, how long it will go on? It seems like the work model that they stand on depends on the caste system, especially the people who are in control. So it's a long fight. It's the fight which is being fought from Bhagats to Gurus and then modern times. But I think it's worth fighting for, since we all dedicate ourselves to the equality of humanity. I just want to share a small story before I go to understand the depth of it is. When I go to school, it was Arya Samathi school. Obviously, somebody else mentioned it as well. So every first of the month, they will tell all scheduled castes stand up. So the students will stand up. And they will say, your one rupee fees as being father. And they'll just sit down. It just to make them realize who they are, what their status as a social society is. This is how they subjugate their population from the very beginning when they're kids, to ingrain in their minds that they can accept that status and live through their lives just serving upper caste. Thank you, Yalvita. Man, we have Dr. Romila Deduka. She came, she's a oncologist. She was also very much involved in this struggle. She came all the way from Reading. Please.
Thank you. I have a question for the group and everybody here. We all have come from different parts of the world here, realizing our American dream. And myself, just like all of you, I have always believed that justice system is better in America. That's why we left India and came here. And this realization of the corruption and how we were put down and by the governor is a shame to that tree. It's actually, I'm so horrified to think that are we all going to let corruption rule our lives? Is this going to be our future for our children? And I have no words for expressing my grief about this. Another thing I want to ask the question is, when we all know this here, as well as many other people know what happened exactly, is there no way for federal, California lawyers I'm sure my lawyer colleagues can help. But is there no federal investigation into this kind of beatings that has happened right in front of our eyes, and we have no say in this process? That's my question. I need to find out. I need all of you to help me find out. Can somebody investigate this? And other thing which I was told, this is a very much a factual thing. There is videos available of this guy boasting in the videos, showing how he convinced the governor to change his mind. On YouTube, you can look at the videos yourself. The question is, there is a code of conduct for the governors and the senators and everybody that it's an unwritten code, law almost, that they cannot talk about funding when they're talking about law in the same room. And this guy goes for fundraising. He actually talks to the governor about the bill and makes him change his mind. He's acknowledging his deal, what he did in public, in YouTube video. Are we just going to look at it and accept it? Are we not going to say, how did this get broken? And this governor, who's going to be the president someday or not, but this kind of behavior from our public officers, are we going to accept it? That's the thing. Are we going to take this? Because here I urge all of you to think here how we're going to plan this. I'm hoping here all our like-minded people are here, and we are all going to work on to the next step that we are going to take for SB403. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's if you want to address this question, but we have to stay in time. We have a few other questions. Amar, you want to give a brief answer? Is there any middle course or?
Sure. I will just say that what happened with this bill is not unique. This is business as usual across the United States. If you are interested in undermining the power structure, which makes this happen every day, all day, on all sorts of issues and all sorts of bills, you have to look at the elected officials that you give money to and that you give votes to. If that person, Democrat or Republican, and there are plenty of Democrats that operate like this and plenty of Republicans, if that person takes corporate money, if they endorse people that take corporate money, if they support the power structure that takes corporate money, they very rarely make decisions based on what is good for real people. They very rarely make decisions to decrease human suffering. And yes, people that don't take corporate money, they may take money from folks that are wealthy. But here's what we know is true. Those elected officials that say, I'm committed to not taking corporate money, will almost exclusively fund themselves through small contributions, Republican or Democrat. And those elected officials are the ones we should support because they actually care about marginalized communities, and the other ones don't.
Thank you, man. And we have Ajit Kaur. She's an MP council for Sanda County. I think you also worked with Sikh Coalition for a long time, right? It's
The coalition, and I volunteered for Chardikla, and I worked for a preferred Dublin growth, and we've been working. So along those lines, I know Kamal already knows that the California Department of Education is gearing up again to revise history, and the fight is going to be a lot more litigious, I believe, this time around. So in the interest of everyone on the panel, I just want to have you have the line folks in the audience. So since we have such great participants, how they can get involved, what they can do to help. And then just a little piece of the last fight we were in, groups like HAS and other RSS-sponsored groups were busting any students and other individuals to provide testimony at our 5 small but fierce, got some edits in, but this time, just from what I'm seeing on the landscape from the county perspective, it's going to be a tough fight. So if everyone could give some input on how everyone here can help, because we're going to need it.
So, yeah, and the SB403 was like 100 California textbooks all at the same time. So I think we are battle hardy as a state, but we need more people to come through.
Because what happens in a campaign like the California textbooks is that there are scholars who are helping advise the state around evidence-based, scholarly-driven, factual curriculum changes related to South Asia. And then you have right-wing Hindu fundamentalists who are basically writing lies. And the only reason that they are there and that they get any weight is because they show up in force. And one of the things that really taught me is that a fact is a fact, not just because of evidence, but because of power. And our side was bringing evidence and scholarly and numbers power. Their side was bringing physical violence, and they would bring in hundreds of people and bust them in from local areas. So if you know, and Harjit can really help us kind of craft that strategy, if this campaign is coming down the pipeline, we are going to need everybody. And there will be meetings that will come up that will require testimonies. There might be direct emails that are required. So if you get a link from Dr. Kang or Harjit or Amar or Nandi, you follow that instruction to send that email, because it'll take thousands of emails. It's going to take all of us making calls, all of us showing up, because then we show that we are defending the facts and the evidence. And to show how ludicrous the situation with the textbooks was, there was a point where our opponents were fighting to change the name of the Indus Valley to Indus Saraswati, after the Saraswati River of the Vedas, right, which is a mythological river. It doesn't exist. And because of the anger and the furiousness of the opponents, the board chair was like, I know this river doesn't exist, but can we just change it anyway? And the scholars are like, no, it's not legal. But, you know, even a textbook publisher, he said, I don't know what to do. I have scholars on one side, and then I have 400 family members that are saying this is wrong. How do I deal with this? And then even when they lose at the county, you know, at this state level, what they've done is created curriculum handbooks so that they force their teachers to teach their version of South Asian history, which includes an erasure of Sikhism, an erasure of the origin histories of Islam, and lies relating to caste. So if we don't defend, we've ceded the territory. So we need to get organized. We need people to follow those calls of action. And it's a lot of work going to those meetings. But if we don't show up, we've already lost.
So we have a last question that we will have very brief closing summary of today's event. Then we will have a few pictures. We're going to present some books to our guests. So please don't leave. We are almost out. Really want to thank you for your patience and thanks for being here. We have Ramesh Soman from Guru Ravidas Sikh Temple in Pittsburgh. He has a question, please. Come on.
There's Chardikla. Man, धन्यवाद का बस मैं होता कि नाम देता हूँ कुछ Chardikla yeah, it's a fierce force behind the bill SB403. They work day and night or months, years behind scenes. For the last 7 it must have been very dramatic, very successful campaign they ran, and it's the key today. Everybody in the political arena knows about it. In caste system, we know it's an evil as forward. But the first thing I'm about to say is Nanakam Chardikla Time Tv. Sikhism, only for one religion in the world. The Tasvir of the workers. So Sikhanda, yeah, Patra and Ban, Sari Dumianda, Kisi Taptopon, Kisi Castemon, Kisi Kartishon, Udi Dunyana Pal, except Conan, the Tekwe Lurk and the Sikhs are always there. Jedin Veer, Jerry Pratt, Joe Greenson, Shiv Rasau, Nufari Kauta, one of the Sirah tell that person is a Sikh. Let's not put any adjectives behind Sikh. Sikh is just a Sikh. This is the change we have to make. Once you call a Sikh, don't add any further questions. Please start. You're diluting the word Sikh. You're disrespecting the women. Sikhs are Sikhs, nothing less, nothing more. We love our gurus. and we respect each other. We have to respect each other as a human, as a Sikh. We have to learn how do we take the message we God received this morning for Pendu. How do we take this message, each guruka, each social circle, how to take this message, how to convey this message to our kids, our next generation. How do we explain take-home car? Like a dignified take-home car. Oh, that's not it. You have to understand that the meaning of it. So we need more people, more scholars who can go to different Gurdwara Sahibs and explain the meaning, bring this kindness into our culture the way the Sikh is supposed to be. Let's do it. Some of us pretend to be what we are not. Let's be what we say we are. And my question to stand on this, we have nothing just so far. How do we move this calm? How do we keep this community together? What are the next steps we will take? Keep this moving forward. And
actually, Dr. Rani asked a similar question, but any of you want to give a brief answer to that, please?
Okay, so this question is similar to the other question. Basically, is that where do we go from here? And the California test of case that's coming up, we have to open dialogues in our Gurdwaras, anti-caste dialogues, create parallel movements. We need a social movement and we need a political movement, and we do not mix these two. There is a political movement going on that's fighting with the politics and all that. At the same time, some like social movement idea, just like Chikara movement, that's working on this big scale. So imagine having 5, 10 Chikara movements, different organizations, working on the same work, and every single Gurdwara of ours having the dialogue of anti-caste, having speeches. अपने बच्चे ने तैयार करो कि अपने गुरुद्वारे च एक स्पीच हर महीने च 2 स्पीचां होनी चाहिए एंटी कास्ट दी जो कहता है मैं सिख हाँ और जब सिख नहीं हो सकता और सिख means first you become sick when you shed your caste. That's when you become sick. And if you're holding your caste, you're not sick, and that's where you key the whole meaning of Guru Nanak, creating this religion. So that social movement is very crucial for every single work we're doing in California. It's the biggest economy. And once these all communities join together, we don't need to have a Vidausiya community. We don't need to have a Reta Sikh community. We have everyone stick together in one platform. And how big we become, because Sikh are the first one who started in the United States and California. So how big of a number we will be once we become one. So having that social movement and making our kids ready and having those dialogues open in the Gurdwaras, every single Gurdwara, like no Gurdwara left behind, is very crucial for this. I understand all the work we're doing on the education side and everything, and this is the work that needs to be done in the Gurdwaras. How about now?
Thank you. I think you said it's awesome.
And that's it.
A lot of when happens, I was stayed in Chicago. I'm just answering that. Sometimes the reverse discrimination starts. It's not always like that. Sometimes you think people who are married are discriminating. Sometimes it can happen from any side. In the end, we have to strive for a society which respects equality and treat other human beings as human beings, irrespective of wherever they come from. I know we are all morning. You guys drove here from different places. So we're going to, on behalf of Punjabi American Heritage Society, we're going to present some token of appreciation to you guys. So I would request Dr. Foman, can you come forward? Dr. Brar, Sanjo, Dr. Singh, Hardeep Singh, please come on. Mr. Joe, so we're going to have present you guys with sounds. Any other society member here, please come and join. So we're going to present you some books. Also to our media partners, we really thank Chardikla TV, Just Punjabi for being here. And
I also want to put a special shout out to Prem Chopra of the Advertise Times and Priyanka and Kale for covering the work of SB403. because they were assaulted and followed. So
I have already
I just want to thank
really in the car, they were near the quality and good. So I look to sorry like that.